I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Bill Belichick is returning to college football. And you know what? Bill O'Brien really doesn't have anything to worry about.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome, everyone. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black. I'm the editor of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 Network. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. On today's show, there's a new quarterback in the transfer portal I think we all should keep an eye on. It could be an added depth piece for BC and an interesting one to really fill out that quarterback room. I'll explain who that is. Additionally, BC loses probably their first player. I'm actually really surprised that they lost in the transfer portal. I'll explain who that is. But we're going to kick it off with the biggest news in college football today. Legendary New England Patriots head coach Bill Belichick, 72 years old, is heading to college football for the first time to coach the UNC Tar Heels. I got to tell you right off the bat, I never thought this was going to happen. I thought this was just a ploy by Belichick to get himself into a more reputable NFL program, the Cowboys or Jets or whoever would take him. I never thought he would go to the NFL. But why am I talking about this on a BC channel? Because he's a New England guy. You know, he's obviously been a fixture in this area. And BC's head coach obviously has connections to him. Bill O'Brien was his offensive coordinator, wide receivers coach. I mean, he was with him forever. So I see a lot of people gnashing their teeth in New England and for BC about, you know, how this is going to impact the Eagles. And I'm here to say, first of all, I don't think this is going to impact Bill O'Brien at all, and you shouldn't worry about it. Second of all, I'm not the biggest fan of this move. I don't think this is going to work out as well as some folks do. So let's kick this off by just explaining how this is not going to impact BC. One of the things folks have been saying is you've got this legendary head coach, possibly the best NFL head coach of all time. He's going to go into New England recruits' office, homes and living rooms, and they're going to get blown away. Dads are going to be like, oh my gosh, it's Bill Belichick in my living room. What I'm going to say about this is, yes, Bill Belichick is going to be able to probably recruit, but I'm also going to say that he's most likely going to have a lot of minions doing that for him. You know, he's 72, and this is the first time he's going to do this. I think he's going to have a lot of guys doing a lot of this legwork for him. And yeah, he may be successful, but I think, honestly, he's going to be more successful in the talent-rich areas of like North Carolina, in the southern states, in states that BC isn't really all that, they're not going to get the cream of the crop anyways. So he may be successful in recruiting, and that could very well be the case. And he could be recruiting it. He's going to probably be successful in the transfer portal as well. But I don't think it's going to impact Boston College. I don't think like he's going to get guys. Like he's not going to be stealing your entire recruiting class. Like, BC's got a whole bunch of Massachusetts kids right now. I don't imagine that North Carolina is going to be, chomping at the bit to get at them. They're just a different style of recruits. UNC's footprint is a different area than where BC's is. And it doesn't make sense for Belichick to change that because Matt Brown has been able to get good recruiting classes. He just hasn't maximized the guys that he has. And the hope is that Belichick's going to be able to do that. Now that brings me up to my second point about how BC shouldn't worry about this. Really, when you look at BC's roster and the staff that they have, there's no one that I would say is a Belichick guy other than Burge Nigerian. And Burge is not a guy that is a huge, like, he does stuff that's important, but like if you lose him, it's not going to like destroy this program. He's a organizational wizard, a guy that can get things going, like organizing practice, organizing schedules, doing all the logistical stuff. That's what he's good at. And I'm honestly not even sure he's going to leave the Boston area. I think he has kids in this area. I know he's a widow, and I think he wanted to stay in this area. He's an older guy too. Maybe he just wants to stay with O'Brien. Maybe, he's got a good gig here. I know he was Belichick's right-hand man for much of the dynasty, But even if he isn't, it's not like he does recruiting. I've heard folks saying this. I talked to kids. I talked to a lot of the recruits. I talked to the staff. Burge Nigerian's name never comes up in recruiting because that's not his role. He's not a recruiting coach. That's not what he does. So you may lose him, but that's it. You have Will Long, your offensive coordinator. From all the reports I've seen, it's Josh McDaniel's brother that's going to probably be the offensive coordinator there. And, Will's not going to take a step down to go there. I think Will's done a fine job here. He's not going to go anywhere. And that's it. I don't think any of the other staff, other than maybe like Dan O'Brien, has any connections to Belichick. But you're going to expect that Belichick's going to bring his guys in. He has his defensive coordinator. It's going to be his son. We're going to have nepotism 2.0 here. And this nepotism is why I don't think this is going to work. Because on one hand, I mean, let me just tell you right off the bat. You guys know, listening to my voice, I'm a New England guy. I've lived in the Boston area my entire life. I'm a diehard Pats fan. I've lived and died by Bill Belichick and Bill O'Brien with the Patriots. Those were some of the best football years of my life. But I have to say, once Brady left, there were major issues with this team. And throwing a 72-year-old coach into a completely foreign world, the world of college football, with 18 and 19-year-olds, this NIL world that drove younger guys like Jeff Hafley out of the NFL, out of college football into a lesser job in the NFL. I'm not sure Belichick knows what he's getting into, and I think this is going to be I'm not a big fan of this. I don't think it's going to go as well as folks say. It may be, he's a good X's and O's coach, but he's also got to, as a head coach, be able to manage the roster. And these last couple of years with the Patriots was a disaster. Like he was really struggling to put, his drafts were bad. He was getting, like Cole Strange, like weird picks that just didn't make sense. If he does that in college football, he's going to fall apart fast. And I think the part of this whole hire that I think folks are forgetting about is that he's 72. Is my impression of this is that this is a move for him to get some leverage to do stuff and to see if he can do it in another spot. But more that I think he just wants to it seems to me like part of this is that he wants to get his kid into a head coaching job. And the best way to do it is to do it at this level so that he can boost up Steve from, Washington's, cornerbacks coach or defensive coordinator up to UNC's head coach in a couple of years. So I'm not the biggest fan. The sticker value of like, oh, wow, shock and awe, this whole Fame coach is going here. I've seen a lot of folks talking about Bill Walsh when he returned to Stanford. Bill Walsh had that huge run with the 49ers. He goes back to Stanford, and his last run there was a disaster too. Like he didn't know his players' names. It just didn't go well. Other than the shock and awe of this, I'm not the fan that this is going to like blow up and make UNC this power again. They could, but for me, I'm much more skeptical of this than I think. And it goes back to just being around watching the Patriots for years and seeing where this team ended up his last couple of years. I thought he got the short end of the stick from the Crafts. I didn't think he deserved to be fired the way he did, but I also don't think I think he's over the hill. I think there's no other way to put it. And I'm not ready to put UNC in this like elite category because they have Belichick now. I honestly think Bill at this point at this point of their careers, I think Bill O'Brien's a better coach. I would rather have Bill O'Brien running this program than Bill Belichick, because it's just where they are in their careers. O'Brien still has, he's got some yardage left in his, some wear left, some tread on his tires. That's what I was going for. O'Brien and Belichick, I think the tires are bald. So I'm not a hater. It could work. I'm skeptical. That's all I'm saying. And I do not think this is going to impact BC very much. Very little if at all. And I think it's going to impact UNC probably in a more negative way than people are letting on at this point. So in a moment, I'm going to move on past Belichick. And I want to talk about a portal edition for BC. The first one out of this class, number 11, that I think is the first real surprise for the Eagles. I'll explain who that is and why I'm surprised in just a moment. Folks, I love going to the movies. I love going to theater and concerts and sporting events. Those are my jam, man. And when I go, I love to use my friends over at Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. You just go to the Game Time app. Use what I want to tell you guys. You're going to use the all-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at tickets at the counter, at the checkout, excuse me. Seat views. You can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. And what you just need to do is download that Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, I use Game Time. I used it to get BC seats last year. I think you're going to like it too. Create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is game time. Locked on Boston College, AJ Black here. And we are talking about the transfer portal. We have a couple more segments about that, wrapping things up here on Bill Belichick. As again, I said, if you haven't, go back and listen to it. Kind of skeptical if this is going to work. And I've seen some good articles about why I think that way too. Now, if you want to get other takes on this, check out Locked On ACC. I'm sure they're going to have a lot of thoughts on this as well. Curious if they're going to be as skeptical about that as they were about Bill O'Brien, but you have to wait and see what they have to say about that. Now, BC loses. I put portal addition on the target over there. I should have said portal subtraction because it's more of a subtraction what happened with BC football on Wednesday. As the first real surprise of the transfer portal happened. We've seen 10 guys go into the portal, from Thomas Castellanos to Jalen Cheek and Cole Batson and Jerron Bradley, Jaden McGowan. None of those guys were surprises. Obviously, Castellanos we knew. The two wide receivers and the two safeties I just mentioned, all of those were guys I had on my list of watch out for them in the portal. They don't have a big role in this program. I can see them leaving. On Wednesday, the big one that came up, I don't want to say it's big, but one that was surprising was Ryan Turner, a defensive back who came to Boston College last year when Jeff Hafley was here. From Ohio State. He entered the transfer portal, and it was kind of out of the blue. And you know what's really funny? If you guys are listening to this on YouTube, I see your comments. I see some of you guys don't like what I say, and some of you are like, oh, this is great, or you have your own thoughts, and I love that. And I love going through the comments and seeing what you have. So if you have comments, please drop them below. But I get like a screen, and I can see what people say. And this morning, I woke up to this. And what I saw was a short, YouTube short where I had a quick reaction to something that BC did from last year when Ryan Turner originally committed to BC. Remember, he was with Ohio State. He knew Jeff Hafley. And it clearly is Ryan Turner with his account found this video that I put up a year ago and put this up. I was like, wow, that's completely random. Why would he be searching this out in the middle of December when he's got bowl season? And I couldn't tell what this was. It was just completely out of the blue. So I saw that. And then, the day goes on. There's not really a lot going on in terms of college football, in terms of BC college football news. Like there's no transfer portal, additions. There's no visitors that I could find. And then I saw a message on my board that was like, hey, Ryan Turner entered the transfer portal. I looked on social media, didn't see anything. I reached out to 247, my leads, like, oh yeah, he entered earlier, just shortly before this. I was like, oh wow, that's a bit of a surprise because you know what? We watched Ryan Turner this year. If you would have asked me in October if Ryan Turner would be one of those guys I would have put back in the portal, I would have said absolutely because he played. I think it was the MSU game that he had a real tough start, and then we didn't see him for very much. They went more with Max Tucker, and Mari Jackson. And then when Jackson went down, they went to Ashton McShane, a true freshman, and Braquise Brown. But then as injuries started piling up, we had that time when Tucker and Braquise Brown went down. They put Turner in, and he became more of the starter as the end of the season because of just the way things are going. Now, my guess is, you're getting all those guys back, other than Bryce Brown. I believe he's out of eligibility, but you're getting Ashton McShane, Max Tucker, and Amari Jackson. I'm guessing, sometimes coaches have to have that talk about where you're kind of at in terms of the depth chart, and maybe Ryan Turner. Maybe he just didn't want to, maybe he wanted a new opportunity, or maybe it just wasn't what he was hoping for. We will never know unless he talks about it, but he's entering the portal. So what did he do? I have to say, you know, there are a lot of defensive plays this year. Credit to Tim Lewis. He made a very exciting brand of football where there were a lot of big plays. One of my favorite plays of this season, non Donovan Azaraku and non Ty Clemens big guy touchdown, was Ryan Turner's pick six against UNC. That was the pick that basically put this game away. They were up 27-7. And Nedowick Pollard had what was it, Jacoby Criswell by the legs and was bringing him down. He throws it right to Turner, and Turner runs it back in. Cool moment. And honestly, like, when you didn't have a ton of big plays, he had 13 tackles, and he played more at the end of the season. I'm not knocking him. I honestly thought he would be a good guy for depth to bring back, but maybe that's not what he's looking for. So I think that one play kind of defines it. He was a guy that BC went after hard when Jeff Hafley was here before Jeff Hafley was here, excuse me. He ended up at Ohio State, didn't really get to play there. So I'm not sure where he's going to end up now. BC's going to, on their end, they're pretty set at cornerback. You have, as I said, those three guys. I'm not sure what the deal is with Cameron Martinez. You have Jalen Williams, who also played a bunch. And then you have a ton of freshmen coming in to play both cornerback and safety. And, you saw Ashton McShane reach up and get some of those snaps. My guess is some of them are coming early. Some of them will probably, as injuries happen, will be playing roles next year. I have to see that. I have to say that. So I don't think cornerback still is a position of worry for me. I still think there's a lot of depth there. And I think that it's not a position, maybe they go and grab one in the portal, but I don't see it. I don't think they need to, especially with the numbers. They're going to have to get to 105. And that's going to be tough with some of the walk-ons that they have. They're going to have to figure that out. And I just, like, if you're going to get some transfers in here, I have not, and honestly, I've not seen them connected with any cornerback. So I don't think that's going to be something they're looking at. But this was a bit of a surprise. This was the first one. Like, Sayoni Hala probably was a little bit, but I think this was the big one. This was a big surprise. And it's not, if you were to, again, ask me a 1 to 10, how big of a damage this looks in terms of depth and program impact this has, put about a 3 or a 4. Again, I would have loved to seen Ryan come back he has 2 more seasons left. I would have loved to seen him, he seemed to be getting it going near the end of last year. Would have been nice to see him battle to potentially be a starter next year. But again, one of the things I see a lot of fans of every team doing this. I don't hate the player. You can hate the game, but that's just the way things are right now. And it's just the way, it's what players are doing. If they think that they can find a better situation for themselves, they're going to do it. And I don't blame them for it. It's you only get a couple years to play this football, game. And if you can find a place where you're going to get guaranteed snaps and it's a better fit for you, go out and grab that. Go do it, because it's what you should be doing, what you and I would be doing. And so good luck for Ryan. I hope he finds what he's looking for, and we'll be monitoring him in the portal with all the other guys. Speaking of other guys in the portal, I don't like bringing him up all the time, but Thomas Castellanos, he is on an official visit to Florida State. I put a crystal ball in on 247 for him to end up with the Seminoles. I think he's going to end up there. I've already trashed him enough. I don't need to continue doing it. But I'm not sure why Florida State is, a school that can get any quarterback that they want after a 2-10 season where it seemed like most of the team quit. Why Thomas Castellanos is their answer. And they let that quarterback, Luke Kromonik, or whatever his name is, I'm totally butchering it, former 4-star, just go. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't know what they're doing in Tallahassee, but we'll wait and see. Maybe it'll work. Maybe Gus Malzahn will find some magic in Tommy, but that's where he's at. And speaking of quarterbacks, I had a whole episode on quarterbacks yesterday, and some of you had some real interesting thoughts on it. Some of you didn't even listen to my podcast and still thought that I was saying that Emmett Morehead should be starting and that we need a quarterback to replace Grayson James. That's not what I said, and I hope you listened to actually what I said, because I was saying I love Grayson James as a quarterback. I just think the depth of the quarterback room needs a boost. That was all I was saying, and folks were just blowing that out of proportion. In our final segment, maybe Emmett Morehead wasn't the right choice. Maybe you disagree with me, but there was a quarterback that entered the portal today. I have to talk about him because he might be the best fit for what BC has and what they need. I'll explain who that is and why he could be a great addition for Boston College in just a moment. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Now, we got football coming up this week. There's some big games going on. Maybe you want some Thursday night action. Go in there, find the quarterbacks, see who's got, the yardage that you're looking for, or the running back. Maybe there's a running back playing. You're saying that player is going to get a touchdown. Go onto the app. You can find anytime touchdown scores. Add that in with the spread. You get yourself a quick parlay, or you can get that as complex as you want. I've seen people doing like 13 and 14 leg parlays. Ain't my style, but you can do it, and you can do it easily on FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black. And again, if you've not become a Eagle Insider VIP on my website, check it out now. 50% off. It's like the price for a cup of coffee a month. I have insider information. I was looking at some info about who BC could be looking at. I have targets on offense and defense in the transfer portal. I have the first couple of visitors that are going to be here this weekend. I've been watching and talking about all of them. I've been able to also weed out bad information. If you want to get there's information. If you just go on Twitter, you're going to get yourself confused. I'll give you the information. Go over to Eagle Insider, sign up today, support it, get your BC information from someone who knows what's going on. Thank you so much for there. Now, as I said yesterday on yesterday's show, I mentioned potentially Emmett Morehead as depth for BC, not to take out Grayson James. Some of us have a hard time listening about that, but I said BC's quarterback room desperately needs depth, because I'm not sure Jacoby Robinson is the answer. He could be if he continues to develop. He could earn that chance to be QB2 next year. But it seems like the quarterback room is missing a little something. Like they need somebody in there to challenge Grayson James. I just don't think Robinson's that guy. You're bringing in Shaker Rising. He's a true freshman. He's a gray shirt freshman. He's going to be like 17, I think, when he gets on campus in January. He's going to need time. Maybe it's 8 months. Maybe it's next year. Who knows? I would not go. If I was a betting man, and I was wise about roster development, I would not go into next year with Shaker Rising as your QB2, like banking on that. Make him earn it. Maybe he can earn it. And that's great. I said you need to add somebody who can challenge Grayson James, and also if you have an injury, jump in, because BC has been hammered for like the last 12, 13 years with quarterbacks just not being able to finish a season. You had guys missing games and games. I mean, last year you saw Tommy Castellanos miss games. You saw it the year before. You need somebody who can jump in. On Wednesday, a name popped up that I looked at and said, this might be too good to be true. His name is Dylan Lonergan, and he's a high four-star recruit. I think he was the number 16 quarterback in his class, in the class of 2022, and played at the University of Alabama. Now, when you look at why he might be the best fit, he's leaving Alabama because it looks like maybe Ty Simpson or Jalen Milroe is going to be back. I'm not sure who's going to be the starter next year, but it does not look like he's going to get a chance. He came to Alabama And he was recruited by none other than Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien brought him in because he liked his style. So he has a connection with the head coach already. If he knows Bill O'Brien, he knows Will Long. He knows the offensive coordinator. He has a connection to this program. And he might be looking for, I get to say, I don't know Dylan Lonergan. He may be looking for a G5 program where he can just go in and start, or a low Power 5 program where he just knows he's going to come in and he's going to earn that starting job. That could happen. But a lot of times with kids like this, if you offer him the opportunity to come in and challenge in camp, that could be enough. And that's kind of where BC's at, right? Like you want competition. You don't want Grayson James just to sit on his laurels and think this is just going to be his. You need someone at him nipping at his heels to continue just building and making everyone better, and having him as a backup just in case. And who knows? Maybe he comes in and kills it. So I look at this connection, his situation, where he's at, probably what his NIL numbers are, and I say to myself, this is what BC's quarterback room is missing. Maybe this is better than Emmett Moorhead. I know some of you guys were really critical of that choice. This is a kid with high upside. He was a high 4-star choice with lots of offers. He knows Bill O'Brien. He chose to go play for Bill O'Brien. Now he could have a chance to do it again. We'll have to watch to see where this goes. You have to see if he's interested, if he makes a visit. We'll be watching all of that. But this seems like, and this would be the perfect addition to that room. Again, you're not unseating Grayson James, but he could add that missing piece to that quarterback room where you then have every duck in a row. You have James as your starter. You have Lonergan as your backup. You have Robinson, who you could be watching to see if he develops. You have Rysick as the young guy. Boom. You got your 4 right there. That's exactly what you need. So I think if everything works out, this would be the type of quarterback that would be the perfect fit for where Boston College is at. On tomorrow's show, it's crossover time. I'm going to join Locked On Nebraska to talk about the Pinstripe Bowl. You get to hear my thoughts on everything about this game and their thoughts. And I want to hear what they have to say about what they think of BC, hear about their thoughts of how the Nebraska season has gone, and you'll hear my thoughts to some of the questions that they have. So check us out. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit that like button before you go. Follow me on X. I hate saying that. Follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. And check us out on Eagle Insider. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys all again tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Boston College. Your team every day.